Welcome back to another episode of the Blueprints Brocast. I'm Austyn Tokar.
And I am Jay Cruz.
And got that one down.
I'm celebrating because Austyn, if you guys notice, I'm the one who always does the opening. Austyn can never get it out because it's a tongue twister for him, but that was so smooth.
Yeah, I mean,
I love it.
Barely closed out the last one like that. Yeah, Matt Ogus posted this thing. You know that space in between the dumbbells and like where the benches go?
Yeah.
It's like, do you agree? Do not lift here. I was like, yes, don't lift there.
In my gym, I don't care.
Well, yeah, obviously.
It's my gym. But if you're in a public commercial gym, yeah, for sure, man. Because that's like, the worst thing is two things. If somebody's holding the rack like this and they're doing their rows while holding another dumbbell,
that, bro.
It's like, what if somebody else wants the exact dumbbell you're like leaning on?
Bro, you know what's even worse? Is bicep curls in front of there. You could do bicep curls anywhere in the gym, but you choose to do it in front of the rack. That's like the most, I feel like a kid knows like, hey, someone might walk in here and try to grab weight. Maybe I should back up. Especially those racks that don't have an extra set to them. Like, so you have the 5s to 30s, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have another rack that has a 5 to 30s. What if you only had one rack that had the 5 to 30s and you're standing in front of all of them, right, to do your bicep curls? You're blocking the only rack that has them.
Maybe the guy is standing in front of the rack because he wants to run the whole rack. So he's going to do the 30s and going to drop to the 25s and drop to the 20s.
Yeah, last week I saw a guy do that, basically bicep curls into like a lateral raise right there. And then he took his rest period right in front of the rack too. I was cracking up. And it was only funny because I was like, well, I'm done with my workout, but all these other people are still working out right now. And this guy's just in the way.
Yeah, I just think that people just aren't aware. There's some people that are aware of other people, and like some people they're not. And then, maybe that person has gone to the gym solo their whole life, and they've never got like social cues, and they didn't know. They didn't have anybody to tell them. They didn't have any gym bros, man. They didn't have anybody that that
you need somebody. I mean, for me, that was just before football, it was like you guys basically.
Yeah,
I think I first went to the gym with Ruben, and then obviously, when you would visit and everything, we would do I would do somewhat of a workout, kind of. Wasn't really lifting that much in high school besides football practice.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of how we've kind of adapted and turned into who we are today. We've fed off of each other like a little bit, and who we've become today is based upon like on us, four brothers, kind of like, oh, hey, what are you doing? Oh, what are you doing? And then we kind of get into things. Like I got into video and understanding it because I had somebody that I knew, Ruben, that was into it. So he could like slowly get me into like the knowledge of it and learning how to do it. And then bodybuilding for you, like, like we talked about this before, but I was the first one to actually gain weight, and you're just like, oh, how are you doing this? So I gave you a little bit of tips, but then you took off on your own. And once you got, a little bit of knowledge, you took it to where you wanted to go with it. So,
yeah. But I think it's that thing where you kind of push each other in those directions.
Yeah.
Right. You get that encouragement like, oh, I should do this. I should do that. And you become a professional in whatever area that was.
Yeah. Well, you also become like a product of the people that you surround yourself with. Yeah. Like, so if I would have surrounded myself, like if I didn't have, you guys have brothers and I just had friends that I had chosen instead, then I'd probably be like them instead of like a offshoot of kind of you guys.
Yeah. You'll always be molded by the people you're around. And not only the people you're around, it's the people you're around constantly, How do you configure that into like your day to day? Let's say, well, we could actually just take from our normal lives. Like I don't see my group of friends, who I consider my closest friends every single day. I'm not around them every single day. And I assume the same thing for you because you work from home. So you're not around these individuals every single day. How do you configure that into your life? Like, do you still get the benefit of having them as close friends, or do you somewhat miss that and I guess you could say not become more like your kids, but like I guess you could say that become more like your kids a little bit, like take on some of their traits, or do you feel like you're a strong enough individual to instill your traits onto them and then you're kind of this immovable object?
This kind of goes back to like that whole idea that you become like the 5 people that are closest around you, right? That's kind of like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. So like I'm in a bunch of different groups. So like I have a group of men that I hang out with on Wednesday mornings. We all go out to a restaurant and we basically talk about life, talk about the Bible, blah, 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 stuff like that. And it's a men's group that where we mold and shape each other, and we iron sharpens iron. I have another life group that meets on Thursdays, and we meet in the evening. So like I have that group of friends that, we all have text threads that we are texting constantly. So I don't have, and then I have another life group that I'm involved in. It's a men's group that I like lead, or I shepherd over them. And, I'm in contact with them, and, we have a text group as well. And then I had another one that was called Better Man, where we had like 8 guys that basically were learning how to be better at their jobs, better at just being a person, father, and husband. So like I had all these groups kind of like over the past year molding me and shaping me. But who I've become because of that has been definitely different and better than, not necessarily better, well, different and better than I was before.
Yeah.
But you asking me about like my kids shaping me and stuff, like I like that I hang out with them, and I do become like them in that, the words the kids say these days, like bussin'. What else do they say?
Your kids don't actually say that, do they?
Dude, they say some of the weirdest things where I'm like, what, Riz?
Bro, that's corny.
What is Riz up? What is that?
When I see that like TikTok and Instagram and I'm reading that, I'm like, what the heck? This is so corny, dude.
Yeah. And then like one in like the Christian realm that people say all the time, like, oh, come on. Like when you're saying something, they're encouraging them, they're like, oh, come on. And I'm like,
nah, everyone says that in the gym too, dude.
Oh, really?
Come on now. Another rep. Go on.
Nah, that's different. It's more like a parallel to let's go. Like, like, come on. That's like the same thing.
What, I don't know if I told you guys, I told the other group, but let's go is just the male version of slay.
That's true.
Every dude says, let's go.
That's true. It's true.
I think that's the funniest thing, man.
But so my kids have like shaped me in that. Like I don't say those words or anything like that, but I've taken on a little bit of their culture to like understand who they are and relate to them.
Yeah.
Like there's that one dance. I don't know what what it is, but like that, it's like a gliding dance where the kids like float. I don't know whether you've seen that before. Dude, it's crazy. So
like a school dance, or is it like a specific?
It's like the moonwalk of the modern day.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking
Dude,
about.
it's
yeah.
cool.
I've seen that Asian kid do it.
Yeah, okay.
Who had that song in the background? Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And so like it's something that like I'm learning with them because
you trying to do it.
It's cool, dude. It's like when the moonwalk came out, and you're like, ooh, let me.
I think there's a point to where you're too heavy to do it. Because like all those dudes I've seen do it, man, they're skinny as heck.
Well, I'll be the first one that has some size that can do it, and I'm gonna post it. But it's just, I do become like them a little bit, and I wouldn't say that I'm still their dad. I'm definitely not their friend. They know the difference. They have a different respect for me. They're not gonna, do things that a friend would do to another friend. But like most of the movies, like we were just talking about watching certain movies earlier, and I was like, bro, I don't know. Remember the last time I watched an adult movie? I've watched, kid, family-friendly movies for the past 16, 17 years because that's all I watch with the family. That's it,
Well, now I'm thinking about you said adult movie, and then you went to a family-friendly movie. I was like, wait a minute.
Okay, like rated R movies,
yeah.
like John Wick and all that kind of stuff. I haven't watched.
Just like the normal scene.
Yeah,
movies.
You're right. That's the wrong.
Sorry, I was like, wait,
yeah.
Adult films too.
Yeah, that's the wrong wording for it. Like that's not what I meant. But like I did watch. So I become like desensitized to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I watched Equalizer.
That's a good movie.
No.
It's a good movie.
It was a good movie because like the good guy was doing good things, but the way he was doing
I just think it's a cool action movie. That's it. I don't like stories are right and all that, but it's kind of like
no, the violence for me was too much. It's been a long time since I've watched movies like that.
Did you not watch John Wick?
I watched no John Wick.
Bro, if you watch John Wick, you'd be like, oh man, especially the fourth one. Mm-hmm. Like it's a cool movie. I still think it's cool, but like you'd be like, dang, bro, when's it stop?
Yeah, I haven't watched it for lack of like, oh, I shouldn't watch that movie. I just haven't watched it because I just haven't got around to it, and I'd end up watching it by myself. Like,
if you just want to watch like, oh, I know it's gonna be an action movie, let's watch it. Like I want to watch Keanu Reeves in an action movie. Yeah. You watch John Wick.
Yeah. But going back to just like being influenced, I believe that I'm a bigger influence on them, obviously, than they are on me.
Yeah.
A lot of my values, absolutely, in order to make the world a little bit better place, I have to pass on the values that are positive that I have onto them. Like that's my job. Like the world needs to be a better place through my kids first, before I try to make the world a better place in any other aspect of life.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, like me going, like, you know, training somebody in my gym here, or helping somebody get fit is secondary to my kids being developed. It's just hard. It's hard to instill a passion in somebody else if they just don't have it. But like, it comes eventually, just by building that relationship with them. Like I said, like Corbin, wanting to get better at basketball, it's been because of building relationship and just like encouraging him. And he's like, oh, my dad's into what I'm doing, so let me do it some more. And so he hangs out with me more, just because I'm, you know, encouraging and uplifting for that. So how about you? Like what are your group of friends that, you know, kind of influence you and shape you?
I mean, as you get older, like it's interesting. From high school, you can definitely see like an immediate change, who you become, just because you constantly see each other on a daily basis, right? You're not like, you're not doing like I'll see you on this day of the week. You're seeing them every single day, especially when you're doing football. You see them every single day and then some, right? Now, as you get older, you start seeing friends less and less. So I believe people have to be very impressionable on you if you're going to take on certain traits that they have, or if you're going to lead on some certain traits onto them that you have, right? And now that I'm working more at home instead of like an actual job, I see people less and less. I see friends still less and less too because of that. It's an interesting concept for me. So I feel like a lot of that time is spent alone. So while I do have the close friends, I feel like there's like this, I wouldn't say ongoing battle, but I'm just kind of like spending a lot of time with myself, learning more about myself and taking on traits that I already have that I didn't know I had before, and learning from that rather than other people. Like I'll still take from my friends, obviously. Like when I do see them, obviously you're gonna pick up a few things, and you constantly have, you know, you're talking with each other too. But it's just like a different dynamic, if you know what I mean. Yeah. It feels like there's a sixth friend there, like myself. Kind of like, you know, that Gollum and Schmeagol thing going on there.
Oh my gosh.
Nah, but you find out more about yourself when you spend more time with yourself constantly. Like if I had a family there, I'd probably, you know, have kids, you know, I'd be doing kind of the same thing you do. But it's different. It's interesting. Because I haven't really talked to anyone else about that kind of situation, like how they interpret it, and how they become like their friends or whatnot. So it's kind of like I'm learning as I'm going, that kind of deal. Have
you ever found yourself at a point in life where you're like, oh man, the people I'm surrounding myself aren't going the same direction as I am, and they're not bettering me. I need to, like, you know.
Oh, that's a given. That's a given. I just automatically do that. There's a lot of people since moving, like we went from Monterey to Reno to here. Some people were cut off. So other people, it's kind of like an open-ended thing. Like you never really cut off. You're just kind of like, you're still really good friends. And when you get together, you're still great friends, right? And they've already left those impressions on you. But you just naturally just don't talk as much because you're not part of that daily life anymore. Yeah. It's just a different scene.
I found like in my life, anybody that I hang out with that's like good friends, it's more like I didn't choose any of these people, you know?
Yeah.
And you're with them just because you're in the same space all the time. And so, like, for lack of better words, you just don't want to be alone. So you're with these people, and then you're with them all the time. And like you do things, and like there's, you know, you just don't want to change your group.
Yeah.
Like I've had that group where, you know, I hang out with the same, you know, couple guys, you know, every week, you know, I see them all the time. We do all family functions together and all these kind of things. But I'm just kind of like, I actually don't want to be like you guys. And I was never like any of them. I didn't do any things that they did. I didn't, you know, partake in any of that stuff. And so like, it was weird because like, I guess I am kind of like my own person in that, like I was with them, but I didn't become anything like any of them. There's not part of them that rubbed off.
that was just a period of time. You're kind of like, I just need to get through this time to a more established situation, maybe.
Yeah.
You know? Perhaps you're probably thinking long run, like there's going to be other people I'm going to run to eventually. So while this is here, I take it for what it is. You know,
it's hard because like I've lived a life where, you know, guys that I've gotten close to and had close friends with, it just either like it fizzled out, like our friendship fizzled out, or we moved, or like I'm somebody that like that's the kind of friend I am. Like if I'm in proximity with you and I see you all the time, it's easy to be friends with somebody. But then like being intentional about like, hey man, let's meet up, let's go do something or whatever it is. I've never been that person. So like I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
I don't know what being intentional, having an intentional friend outside of like school, outside of sports, outside of like a job. Like I have zero clue what that looks like.
Yeah.
Because my friends have been you guys. Like, hey, come over whenever. Like do whatever. Go in the fridge. Like I don't have to like babysit you or host you, you know? Like
yeah.
I've never had a friend where it's like, hey, just come over and you can just be here. I've never had that.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it's something you develop, you know.
I feel like it would be, yeah, it is something you develop. And it has to come from an area you respect and you really like, right? So I don't know whether that be the videography realm, the gym realm, or whatever it is, or maybe even the community of the get-together you have and the fellowship you have from there. Like I feel kind of that way with, you know, the Team Mahaley coaching staff is just, we're all really good friends. Like, so I feel that way about each and every one of those individuals. Like we connect very well. It's just a kind of like a different sphere. And obviously I feel that way about you guys. So I just think it's an area I'm really delved into. And it's been like 4 years I've been with these people. Right? So you got to know them very well over that period of time, even though you're at long distance away from each other.
Yeah.
There's like a good connection there, you know? And I feel like you don't always have to be around people. And this is just what I'm feeling like in the moment. I could be wrong. Who knows? Things change as time goes on, but I don't feel like you have to be with people to get those impressions too. Like they can leave a strong impression still. And you talk to them every once in a while, that kind of deal.
I think we kind of like wandered off into like friendships and having them as opposed to like, you know, becoming, you know.
It's kind of the same thing though, because if you're willing to have those type of friends, that kind of determines like who you are as a person, who you're able to kind of weed out what your values are. You know, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. I don't think that I've had anybody like, obviously except for you guys that likes all the same things that I like and that are like into like the same things, at least in the same realm.
Yeah.
Have the same sense of humor, have, you know, understand the other person well enough. And I think maybe, like you said, like I said earlier, you know, it's something you develop.
Yeah.
But I don't know about, I think because I've been like, I wouldn't say hurt, but like just, I don't know, I need to say betrayed. I don't even know what the word is, but like the other end wasn't as invested as me.
Yeah.
And so like, they just was like, oh, this isn't really like a friendship that I value. And I was like, okay, that's cool. They don't have to say it, you know, just their actions show it. Yeah. So for me, it's like, I want to spend that time to like put myself out there again and to like just deal with all that. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's, I don't want to say worth it. I know it's worth it, but like, how do you find that person that's like, oh yeah, man, let's be lifelong friends. Like,
I think it's like, it's a slowly developed. Like you don't just go right in it, right? Here's kind of like, well, this person's not completely weird, so maybe I'll hang out with them this one time, right? Like you start going to things like, when I was at home for the longest time, when I just started getting into coaching, you know, it was taking time away from the restaurant when I was working the restaurant as well. So your time becomes, I guess you could say more valuable, but you're also kind of getting used to being alone. You're like, I kind of like this a little bit, my time myself, where I can spend doing whatever I want. And so do I want to go hang out with these people, you know, take my time, hang out with these people, you know, so in a way it is more valuable. But I think you do have to get out of that comfort zone and decide like, okay, let's try it, right? Because you can never just stop trying. That'd be like trying to stop fitness. You know what I mean? Like it's still going to be an integral part of your life. Like fitness will always be there. What if you got some sort of injury that kind of ruins one aspect of fitness? Would you not do it then? You still be like, I gotta hit the gym still, bro. Whatever I can do. You know, it's just in you. And I feel like there are very few things in life that you're probably gonna be like that with. And I think having a friend group, having a family would be one of those. You know, I guess you would get rid of the family part if you're a psychopath.
Well, I think for me, like in the stage of life I'm in right now, as my kids are grown up enough that I can have conversations with them. So like, it's not like an important aspect for me to like, oh, I need a friend because like, man, I have kids. I can.
That's what I'm saying. That could be your whatever 5-6 friends kind of deal. You know.
Yeah.
Maybe even Julie counts. You know, that's basically your best friend. Yeah. Married her. So, I mean, that counts as one of the people that's an integral part of your life. Integral.
Yeah, you've been saying that. And I'm like,
I've said that like 3 times.
Integral?
Integral. I got to look it up. Hold on. I got to ask Google real quick.
I think it's integral.
Integral?
It doesn't sound right. Now that you said it, integral.
Integral. Yeah. Necessary to make whole.
No, the word's right. But press the button that pronounces it real quick.
Integral, yeah, see?
No. Is that what you've been saying?
I said integral and then I said integral. So
integral,
it's kind of the same thing.
It's integral.
Wait, here's this other one.
Put it up to the microphone.
Integral.
It's kind of the same thing. I just emphasized the E.
Now that word is messed up in my mind now. I'm never gonna say it right.
You're gonna start saying it. You're gonna start saying it to the kids.
Integral.
This is an integral part of your life. You have to go. You're like, what?
When we were building the house, I was trying to say industrial. Like, hey, I kind of wanted like industrial. Like, can we leave the vents open so you can see them like in the gym? That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
They couldn't do it. But I was saying industrial. And, you know, that's the way that it's written, industrial. Yeah. And they're like, huh?
You're just not including the I in there.
Yeah, industrial.
Yeah.
Well,
I was like silencing the I. Like, industrial? What the heck?
It's a word, though. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Industrial, right?
No, it's just funny that there will be people, they pronounce a thing a certain way. I think it was an episode of The Office that someone was just like mispronouncing a word. And they're like, hey, ask them to say that word again. I don't think I heard that right. They just kept asking that the whole episode.
That's funny too, because you think that like people, like when they watch a TV show, like say you watch like, I think Friends had like 9 seasons of the Friends. That if you watch it and you binge watch something like that, like it becomes part of you too. Like you start acting like people, or like you say things, so like that becomes part of your personality. Because
bro, that's why I said that's what she said for the longest time, because of The Office.
Oh, because The Office.
Yeah, I started that in 6th grade.
Oh gosh,
bro, I was just saying that all the time.
Oh, that's true, because I remember when that was out, and at the office that I worked at.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it until like recently. Like I'd never watched The Office till like maybe like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And all these guys at the office would always be saying that. I'm like, why are you saying that? Like, what? Well, I don't understand why this is funny.
Where did this come from?
Yeah. And then my boss had a Dwight bobblehead on his desk.
Yeah.
And I thought that was funny. But now I get like all the jokes and stuff like that. But yeah. It is true then. I guess almost anything, because I'll watch people on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, even that. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were watching like the Hodge twins, and I remember like for a year or two our humor like changed based upon like a lot of their humor, and like we would make jokes like that, and now we don't, we don't watch them anymore, so we don't joke like that at all anymore.
It's funny because it doesn't have to be completely, your friend group. It can be like you said, a YouTuber or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember I used to watch a lot of Christian Guzman last time. Start dressing like him a little bit, or start wearing some skinny jeans and some tight pants. Got some fake Yeezys to go along with that.
Oh man. So that's kind of interesting, because this conversation has changed into, hey, the 5 people closest to you, like they become, or you become like some version of them, like a little piece of all them. But like, man, it's like kind of whatever you allow into your eye cavities and your ears.
Yeah.
You take on a little bit of that into your personality and who you are. So like that, with that in mind, like you kind of have to just be aware of all the things that you expose yourself to.
Yeah.
I remember I was listening, I don't know whether you know, NF.
Yeah.
You know who that is? Okay, his rap, he's a Christian rapper, right? Quote unquote. But
He is?
Yeah, he is.
I didn't know that.
Okay, so
It's
that's
so mainstream, so it's like,
yeah, exactly. So here's the thing though. The way
it's like
that,
Switchfoot, I guess,
yeah, kind of like Switchfoot. But the way NF raps, it's always like me against the world. Like you know, any rapper that comes, I'll kill him and blah blah all these things. But it's like, and then he's like, it's just depressing, right?
Yeah.
And if you listen to it too much, it's like you just get that like, oh, like this gritty like attitude when listening to it. And I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I kind of stopped listening to, like, I pick and choose. Like I listen to like,
hey, well, he's got that marketing down then for that person.
yeah. I listen to like
athlete.
3 or 4 of his songs now, like the ones that are good that I like.
Yeah.
But all the rest of them are like that. Like, hey, like it's me against everybody. Everybody's always against me. And like, let me put the hoodie over my head.
I wonder if that translates into the gym, because, there's just some people that are not nice and you try to be friendly with them. Even if you're bigger than them, you're being friendly to them.
Yeah.
There's always that one kid who's like, kind of like, nah, I'm on my grind, bro. I won't be Mr. Olympia. There's always one person like that.
Yeah. And it's probably like, and they probably have headphones on and they're listening to some like crazy hard metal music, just like, and they're just like, just.
No, brother, listen, NF is me against the world.
Yeah. Or NF, man. And that's
like, you don't understand.
Yeah. That's another theme in his songs. It's like, you don't understand me. Nobody understands me.
Yeah, dude.
And so that. So like the music that we listen to also like is a huge influence. I remember my mind when I listen to like some hip hop and rap and where they're talking about, I don't even need to explain it. The things that they talk about, and my mind would think about those things. And I'm just like, I'm kind of done. Like my mind isn't anywhere good. Let me just listen to like different music. And that's when I got into like, music that pumps you up, but there's no lyrics, so I don't have to think about what they're saying,
I like that new music, new age music. Like, it's not electro dance. It's kind of like funk music, kind of like that, electric funk, kind of like that. But those things we send to each other on Instagram, the brothers group, like those anime kids on there. Those people really believe they're that anime character, bro.
Yeah, because they probably watch it all day long and they think they're Naruto or what's this guy?
I want to say like that. Naruto.
I don't know who's the other guy. One Punch or whatever his name is. One Piece.
Oh, there's One Piece. Then there's One Punch Man.
Yeah, all those people. People watch those things and they think that they're.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was like in 5th, 6th grade and I was watching Naruto and I tried to be like Sasuke.
Did you run like him?
I think at one point I tried it. I was just like, will this make me faster? And I tried it and I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah, that was the thing. I remember kids used to run like that, thinking they would run faster and everything. So
yeah, so that's 2006. Yeah, that's funny.
That's cool. So I wonder, like, if you actually sat back right now and you looked at yourself and thought about yourself, the way you dress, the way that you talk, all that stuff. Like, if you could just like, oh, this part I got from here, this part I got from here, and it becomes. What's been the biggest influence and what do you think right now like is the biggest influence in your life?
In my life?
Mm-hmm. The one biggest influence, because we talked about people now, talked about music, movies, TV shows. What do you think is
I think that's very hard to decide because there's always going to be, I don't want to say something else, but it really is something else. So at one point, when I first signed on with Justin, I keep bringing this back to Justin, but like, at that time, I was just like, oh, I want to be like Justin. That's why you ended up hiring him because you're like, I want to be like this person, right?
Sure.
Like, and at another time, I wanted to be like the guy in Naruto, right? At this time, I just see other coaches and I'm like, all right, I want to be as successful as those coaches, so I'll start following them and do what they're doing. So it's always going to be ever changing depending on what you actually want in life. So for some people, they want to feel understood. Like we were talking about for the anime, they'll watch animes and be like, oh, he just gets it. Like he's going to destroy the world for his family.
Doesn't make any sense.
You'd be surprised how many freaking people are like, I get it, man. I get it. Or like, and these will be for real nerds. You'll understand this. Like, Itachi from Naruto, he killed his family to save the world, right? That kind of deal.
That's
like, they're like, oh, there's a bunch of kids like that on there, but for those people it's very real. Like they're like, oh, this is such a hard lesson to learn, and I'm like, You probably will never have to go through that lesson in your life, but I guess you can take from that if you want.
I think my biggest influence, I mean, I feel like this is a given, but being like Jesus, man, and hanging out and reading the Bible and all that kind of stuff, been my biggest influence.
Yeah.
I want to say that I'm most like that, but I think that I'm most like myself, like the worst version of myself. Like I'm most like that more often than not, because I'm just, like you said, like when you get around yourself and you're by yourself a lot, you kind of get to know who you are. And so like I've gotten to know like who I am, but I think the more I mature, the older I get, the more I realize like there's so much stuff to fix. Like I think the older you get and the wiser you get, the more you realize how far off you are from being where you want to be. I think when people are younger and they're not wise and they don't know anything, they're like, man, I'm at the top. I'm on the top of the world. Like I know exactly where I'm going and I know exactly how to get there. Mm-hmm. But I think the more that you understand things and the more that you understand, like I was talking with Riley the other day. So we meet every day. We're supposed to meet today. We meet every day and we talk about, what's going on in life and all that kind of stuff. And she showed me a picture of herself 5 years ago. She's like, oh, look at this. Look how I dress. This is so cringe and all that kind of stuff, right? And I said, Riley, you're going to say the same thing about yourself now in 5 years. And she's like, what are you saying? What are you saying, that I'm cringy now? Like whatever. And I was like, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you're going to mature a little bit more and you're going to look back at yourself today, all the things that you do today. And you're going to say, man, I'm glad I'm better than I was 5 years ago. And so even in my world right now, I could say, man, I'm the best I've ever been in my life. Man, I know way better than that. And I know 10 years from now, I'm gonna look back at myself today and just be like, what were you doing?
That's a good thing though. Like you're always progressing in some sort of manner, whether money, mentally, as in like, as far as wisdom goes.
Yeah.
Like you're looking back, you're like, well, shoot, what the heck was I doing? I could have been doing this instead, but what is that saying?
Hindsight is 20/20.
There you go. Hindsight is 20/20.
I knew.
Yeah.
But even then, going forward, even knowing what's behind you, you're like, we are so uncertain of what the next step should be sometimes. And it's like, oh, am I doing the right thing? And I think for most people, my encouragement to them would be just do something. Yeah. Like doing nothing is worse than doing something and failing. But I think that, even having this conversation, like I just need to reassess who I hang out with and maybe insert somebody into my life. We've talked about this a ton of times, is having a mentor, somebody older than you, wiser than you, that knows more than you, has experienced more than you, and making that one of the people that you have around you. Because there's a lot of things that can influence you, but somebody that has been through it is a great resource.
Or even someone just says they might be around your same age, but they've had a lot more experience than you had.
Yeah.
Through life.
Yeah.
It's not through a fault of your own. Well, it kind of is, but it's just like they knew to do more with their life by happenstance or by just knowing. Mm-hmm. And your life just ended up differently than theirs. Yeah. And they just went through it and you haven't yet.
Yeah. It's just different pathways. And and I think a lot of people think, oh, why haven't I made it yet? And my life is meant for greatness and all these kind of things. If a lot of people just said, hey, let me handle my own responsibilities in my life, man, the world would be a better place if you just did that. Yeah. But we all want to be the kings.
Top dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whatever else. Man, just like some of us are role players in life. There's nothing else you can talk about. Like, you can't explain it any other way. You're a role player. Play your role, and your life would be great. Stop trying to be somebody that's, famous.
And you might actually end up being famous by doing that.
Exactly. It's true. An example of that, I don't know, I'm going to throw another Bible character out there, but Daniel, in the Bible, talks about him just praying every single day, like morning, noon, and night. That's all he did, pray in front of a window. And eventually that turned out into one of the coolest stories in the Bible, where he gets thrown in the lion's den because he's not doing what the king was asking him to do. And then, he's saved. So like, it's the little tiny things that he did that became something, great. And for me, like, man, I'm just hoping the little things that I do with my kids, developing them and hanging out with them, like makes them somebody great, or at least some people that are successful and positive people in society. And that's my version of greatness. Like that's what I want to look back at, and that's my legacy.
Yeah, I mean, So to transition this, it's not just the 5, 3, 6, 10 people you have around you, closest to you. It's all things. Whatever you're going to have around you, whatever you're going to surround yourself with, you will become like that. By you meaning it to be or by not, it's just going to happen.
I didn't even realize this, but we talked. Our talk was basically about being a product of your environment.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But you get to choose your environment, though. Like, luckily, some people don't, but we get to like, hey, or those of you can choose your environment, like choose it. And if you want to become better, then be around better people. If you want to be,
Whatever,
not so great,
just don't do anything, bro.
Yeah. If you don't want to be so great, then hang out with criminals and people that don't do good, You
just hang out with criminals.
Yeah, I mean, people know the difference, and it's hard because here's the thing. The last thing I'll say. So I was working with some people that were taking care of homeless people in California, and one of the things they said is that hey, if you don't get somebody off the street within the first year, you can't take them off the street because that becomes their community. That's their family. So they hang out with other homeless people, and that's who they become.
Yeah.
So you're not asking them to leave homelessness. You're asking them to leave all their friends and their friends and now new family.
Yeah.
So I know, like this thing that we're saying is, hey, it's hard sometimes to change up the type of music you listen to change up your friend group, to change up all these things. But like, hey, it's the equivalent to homelessness and being, strung out on drugs and living on the streets. It's the equivalent to that. Like if you actually take it to that extreme and say, man, I could be here, but I'm here, and just assess where you're at, man, the level of even just minuscule success that amounts to a lot will pay dividends by just making a few just mental choices of what you watch, what you listen to, and who you hang around with.
Yeah.
Man, that ended up being a lot more deep and in depth than I think that we expected to talk about.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for hanging out with us. And man, a couple of next episodes, we're gonna have some guests. I'm excited. We're gonna have family coming through, so you guys get to be introduced to some of them. So again, thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you guys in the next video.
Peace.